Beverages, packaged foods, and some toiletries are among the indispensable items in our daily lives. But how often do we stop for a moment and wonder how they're created and delivered to the customer's hands like ours? Supply chain efficiency is the key to an easy availability of these basic necessities. So, what is a supply chain? Supply chain is a sequence of activities in organizations, their facilities, functions involved in producing and delivering a good or service from raw materials to end customers. What does it take to best operate a supply chain? Supply chain planning is generated with the aim of optimizing the production and distribution process. It also allows companies to balance supply and demand or reduce cost as well as lower cross-functional and organizational friction. The components of supply chain planning includes demand planning, supply planning, and production planning. They operate as interdependent SCP functions. The process starts with demand planning. Historical data and forecasts from functional teams are combined to create one number forecast to protect what customer will want, how much, and when. So, what's next? Since forecast is not always perfect, we need to decide the inventory level in the supply planning phase, as well as create a replenishment policy to determine when and how much to order. We also need to organize the distribution network used to fulfill customer orders, as well as the modes of transportation en route to be utilized. For the production planning stage, we need to define the schedule of production and the materials needed to produce the right quantity of products to customers. Although the general principles of demand, supply, and production planning are much the same, planning challenges can vary by industry. Next, we will look at the case of fast-moving consumer good industry to have a better insight into how these 6 characteristics of consumer packaged goods can affect the planning process. First, the seasonality of products is an important challenge for FMCG companies. For example, the demand for ice cream can be much higher during summer than during winter. Therefore, companies need to take the seasonal factor into consideration when creating forecasts in the demand planning phase. Secondly, the long life cycle of FMCG allows companies to collect enough historical data to quantitatively forecast the demand pattern based on statistical approach. Many FMCG have a short shelf life, partly because the product deteriorates rapidly, and what typifies this kind of products is that freshness is a major issue. Therefore, the emphasis is put on inventory management according to 2 main approaches, first in, first out, and first expired, first out, to make sure that fresh products are available to customers. FMCG products tend to be low-priced items. Therefore, it is very important to maximize machine utilization and keep distribution efficient during production and supply planning to maintain a competitive price. Fast-moving implies that products are quick to leave shelf. Along with that, a low degree of differentiation within the same product type means that customers can easily substitute their favorite Coca-Cola with Pepsi if Coca is not available on shelf. These require FMCG companies to ensure high product availability by putting emphasis on high volume production and effective distribution network. Due to the characteristics mentioned, regular forecast with high accuracy is the key to create consumer products at a low cost and readily available. Most FMCG products are standard, thus batch or mass production can be applied during production planning phase to reduce cost per unit. When designing supply chains, FMCG firms are often faced with the competing demands of improved customer service and reduced costs. One of the most critical challenges that a supply chain organization needs to overcome is the ability to not only recognize trade-offs, but to reduce them. Among the possible solutions to the mentioned challenge, the consumer-driven supply network model applied by P&G proves to be one of the most effective. Founded in 1837, Procter & Gamble are now one of the world's leading consumer goods manufacturers. They have an enormously complex supply chain, with GT Nexus reporting that in 2015 they had over 70,000 suppliers worldwide. P&G believes in 2 moments of truth. First, when customer buys the product from shelf, and second, when they actually use it and like it. In order to handle the first moment of truth, it is important to have stocks available on shelf, as 48% of times their products were unavailable on the shelf when the customers wanted it. As a solution, P&G decided to have a connection between actual sales and the supply chain process. They started its supply chain from store shelves and moved back to its suppliers. This operating strategy was called Consumer-Driven Supply Network, in which various approaches were undertaken to collaborate with retailers. IDF, which is a software used to forecast the demand based on actual sales, is one of the most important components of CDSN. It will collect input information to produce forecast, which is refreshed daily. IDF tracks daily demand picked up from the scanner data at the point of sale across different stores, and that itself becomes the replenishment plan of P&G for those stores. After 8 months of implementation, P&G witnessed a 5% reduction in shelf-level out-of-stocks at retailers and a 30% improved forecast accuracy. In addition, total supply chain response time went down from 6 to 2 months. P&G got a daily count rather than weekly or monthly, and hence reduced safety inventory by 10%. Overall sales net profits witnessed a gain of 15% and 19% respectively.